Take your time and just breathe. Inhale, exhale. Calm yourself and just breathe. Inhale, exhale. Relax and let that angst leave. Inhale, exhale. That's it, get back and flow. Yeah, you cool and good to go. Now that's every time you know. Breathe.
Peace and welcome. You've reached the earnest truth right here on YouTube. I am so grateful to be in this space right now. Just with the opportunity to share some of my experience and what I'm learning and how I'm moving. So I'm gonna get right into it. I'm just talking about how I've come to realize what matters most. I thought I knew, just made another solar trip around the sun of celebration. And so as I continue to mature and develop, I just come to realize some greater understanding, that being again of what matters most. It was inspired and it's been inspired and continually being inspired, not expired, but inspired by those around me. Those individuals around me are what inspire me to continue to stay on the course, continually focusing on what matters most. And so this can be beneficial for each and every one of you that is listening. And so again, I appreciate you. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and tap the bell so you'll be notified when I upload any and everything to this channel, whether that is just some inspirational post or whether it's another reflection of my personal experiences. And so without any further ado, I just want to get right into it. I tend to get too wordy if I'm just speaking from the heart, and so I don't like jumping all over the place. So I do write most of these things down. I write or script out what I want to say, and then I just read from it from that extent. And so with the aid of technology, it's being very instrumental in helping me to get this stuff across, because otherwise I probably would be dragging my feet nonetheless, because I'm a perfectionist and I want things to be right. And not that that's a non-beneficial thing, but I put too much time into trying to make things just right. And that's a peeve of mine. And so that's something that I'm working through as well. I do want things to be of a level of excellence. I mean, I don't want to just throw trash before anyone, but I do like for things to be organized. I like for things to be definitely put together in a way that it can be easily understood and relatable. So that's why I just choose not to be all over the place. Again, like I said, I got a tendency to start at point A with intentions to go to point B, and then I'm making about 20 stops between A and B. And if you know what that's like, if you're somewhat like that, you know what that's like. And so to be, like I said, to better get my point across and don't lose anyone in what I want to express and share, I like to script it out. And so I was making this content again under the inspiration of speaking to my children, speaking to my son in particular. And so that was what definitely struck me as this came to me. And I was just reflecting. I just was looking back on the experiences, and that is what I am aiming to do as I go forward in continuing to share. And so I just want you to know, I want you to know that I'm facing myself and my deepest dark shadow aspects. My ego gonna say, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do it. I wouldn't say that. I definitely wouldn't share that, especially if you don't want to be judged or criticized or talked about. And so, yeah, that ego for a long time has had me in a state of arrest. It's had me in a state of being silent and in a certain way. Now, if you talk to me one-on-one, I'm not silent. But some about, setting up the camera, recording, or going live, whatever, because again, that's just a fear, but it's not serving me. So I've been practicing lately not to allow things that are not serving me anymore to dictate how I move and the choices that I make. And so, again, being ashamed, scared, being ridden with guilt would have me to be in a place of low productivity to no productivity. And because I want to be an encouragement to those that look up to me, those that follow me, those that know me and respect me, I have to be even more real with you. Because a lot of times we put on this mask as though we're one thing, and yet up under that mask, or if we be real with ourselves, that's not who we are. And so at this point in my life, I've been married 3 times, and yet and still I'm learning myself as to why my romantic relationships go stale and stagnant. I've had the pattern of a 5-year, pretty much a 5-year cycle in which marriage number 1 lasted for 5 years. Marriage number 2 lasted for 5 years. And then this present relationship that I'm in, at the 5-year point, is when we started to really have conflict issues. And so I realized that, for the first one, the second one, and now this one to have the same patterns, I must be the common denominator. I am the one that has been the source. I'll put it like that. And not to take away or add to the other individuals, because it is what it is. Everybody brings to any situation, everybody brings their own baggage. And so nobody's perfect. Yep, we've all experienced all of those things. But I did have to accept the fact that, hey, if this has happened 3 times and it's been with someone different each time, then the issue is you. Stop, it's not to look at those individuals and say, they just, the issue was me. And so this has allowed me. I'm so grateful for this relationship. I shared it in a previous video, how grateful I am for the relationship, because it has been a process of deeper self-awareness, getting to truly know myself, and find why I respond and react, why I am the way I am. This, and in totality, has helped me to evolve even more. And I was already great, but I'm headed to being the greatest that I will possibly be. And so I realized after those points of the 5-year cycle and pattern that I must have been following something or doing something, of course, that would cause these continual progressions. And so I realized that it's too much power that I've allowed the inner voice to harness, which negatively has been affecting me my whole life. Now, my thoughts and decisions would mainly be based from an ego perspective. Now, a lot of people say, well, you need your ego. Your ego is important. Yeah, but when your ego is based from the survival mechanism of when you may have been younger, and now your ego kicks in, and it's based from a place of trauma that you allowed it to get to the point to where you're not your true self, but it's your ego and a version of you that is just another avatar. And so my ego is not serving me for the betterment or being my best version of myself. And I look at it more as a stumbling block. I look at it as a stumbling block. I've had trouble relating in this present relationship with my mate. And of course we love each other. We love each other to life. We love each other like crazy, you know. But the reality of it is that love just doesn't make everything pan out. It doesn't make everything right. Dysfunction and issues must be corrected. Now, I learned to cope from my traumas, and I'll say selfishly, and grew up underdeveloped emotionally. As I stated, at some point in my childhood, the things that happened, they happened, but where the trauma kicks in is how I embodied those events, how I internalized those things that happened. And because I didn't know any better, and because, hey, I'm just a child, through processing this, I began to separate from being a very emotional young child, because being real emotional just wasn't accepted at that point. Being over emotional was viewed as being a weakness. And so I didn't want to appear weak. And as a young boy, you're accepted if you are tougher. Nobody don't want the weak boys around them. And so from shutting down those emotions to having a more tough skin, that transformed into being a less emotional individual as I continued to age. And man, just looking back, can y'all imagine what that means? And do you realize how that looks as an adult today in this savage world that we live in? Now, I know what matters most now. I see now how I sabotaged everything I let my ego run point with. This relationship has seen some awesome, great times, y'all. We've also experienced some not so favorable times. So much so, instead of us just splitting and moving on and going about our separate ways, we are fully committed to evolving ourselves. So much so that a relationship reset was what was called for. And you may say, a relationship reset? Why? Well, yeah, it is what it is. Reset means start over. Let's just start the relationship over. Let's start the relationship over on the grounds that, hey, we're setting new boundaries because we're basically coming into a better and greater awareness of who we are individually, getting to know ourselves, me finding myself. And so we're not going to kick this to the curb because, yeah, we truly do care for one another and we love one another. We're friends. However, what other way to better evolve yourself, especially if you have a partner, than to stay with that partner? Because it's very deep. And because we have a lot of healing and developing to experience and grow into. And why not enjoy that with your partner? Why not enjoy that with somebody that you've already invested a huge amount of time and energy and everything else that goes with being in a relationship? Why not? Why abandon it? Unless one or both individuals are so far removed to the point that they cannot reconcile or they cannot see the benefit and purpose in growing individually and then growing relationally. And so being emotionally unavailable means, for us, difficulty with connection. You may be experiencing that. You may have experienced that. That one to both of you could possibly be emotionally unavailable. And so to my young men, to my older men out here that may be in a place of where you're struggling with being vulnerable, you're struggling with being emotionally available, then you will experience a great deal of disappointment and confusion and a disconnect in your partnerships, relationships, marriages, even friendships, because of the lack of emotional availability. Men are said to be more physical and women are said to be more emotional. Now, that is true. In addition to that, there's a dual aspect about us as beings, and that is that as masculine dominant or males, we have that side to that, we have that predominant side to us, but then we do also have another half. And in all actuality, there is not a predominance. It is actually what we were incarnated in as. And so if you looking at me, you know I'm a man. I'm a man. It's not. I ain't done nothing to change my physical makeup. I was born as a boy, with a dick, with testicles, and nothing else. And so I'm a man. In 2023, we ain't got to, but I choose to say that. And getting back to what I was saying, being emotionally unavailable means there will be difficulty with connection. That difficulty with connection leads to difficulty with communication. Difficulty with communication leads to, as I put it, difficulty with copulation. Because, and that's just sex, for those that didn't know. The problems aren't physical as much as they are mental and emotional. And if you're experiencing any disconnect within your relationships, friendships, partnerships, if you're experiencing any disconnect, 9 times out of 10, you need to look in the mirror first, my guys, at yourself and see, am I being present? Am I in tune with myself? The continual difficulties, they just make more difficulties. So now it's on to how do we work through it all to reestablish what was there in the beginning. And to be real with you, I'll say, because in our case, we don't. We don't work through to reestablish what was once there in the beginning. No, we don't. We work to establish what's in order now. Work to establish what's in order right now. Not working through the past, not looking to the future, but work to establish what's in order right now. Tomorrow's not promised, and y'all, life is full of ups and downs, period. And so work on you. As I stated, this was inspired in efforts to reach my son, some other young men. And so I say, sons, work on you for real. For real. Heal your abandonment wounds. And let me put this here. At some point, we all have had some abandonment wounds. And I'll tell you just like this. When we're born, because this has been a hustle and bustle society, our parents have to separate themselves from us because they got to go to work. They have to work. They have desires. They have things that they want to do as well. And so there have been times where they may drop us off with somebody and go. But as children that needs nurture, we looking for our parents. And so if it's a time of not being connected, then that's how wounds set in. We just recently got a puppy, and the puppy is about 4 months old. And when we don't give him all the attention that he might be wanting and desiring, he starts to whimper. He starts to whine. For whatever reason, whatever he's feeling like he wants to be right next to us, at our feet, whatever the case, whether he wants us just rubbing on him. That's attention that he's seeking. But just like with our own children, when we don't give them the attention that they're seeking, that forms a conditioning, that forms a coping mechanism within them, regardless of what age they are, that they'll learn to cope with the disconnect or the abandonment. And so again, I say, fellas, heal your abandonment wounds. Recover from codependency. Recover from codependency. That's simply us just feeling like we have to be connected to something or someone. We build codependency with substances. Like this entire world right now is coping with some type of dependency on something. Whether I'm not going to even call it a distraction, but whatever your choice of coping mechanism is that you're dependent upon to help you to manage, it may be a form of some type of therapy, whether it's beneficial or not, but you chose to use that particular thing as something to be dependent upon to help you to keep on going, to help you to make it through, to help you to have a sense of solace, and then if you can't have that thing, how are you responding? Are you getting upset? Are you getting angered? Are you getting frustrated? Do anxiety kick in? And so recover from codependency. Now, if you want all these things to continue to occur, then by all means, don't work on healing yourself. But if you want peace, if you want the ability to be connected to yourself, to be connected to someone else, these are the prerequisites. I'm going to say, get to know you and be completely accepting of yourself. Get to know you and be completely accepting of yourself throughout this journey called life. Again, the ability to connect with ourselves first is what matters most. The ability to connect with ourselves first is what matters most. Y'all stay tuned as I share how I practice connecting with myself. Until the next video, I love y'all. I love you always, son. Peace.